Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I am Kyle Ismail, and I am coming as a volunteer interviewer with America's Islamic Heritage Museum. And we are here with Brother Sabir Rahman, and the museum's endeavor is, as it has always been, is to collect the stories of American Muslims. And in this particular instance, we are beginning an initiative to do the local histories and communities starting in our area. And there are several important institutions that we wanted to begin with, and MCC is one of them. So we're very happy that we have this opportunity to have a conversation with one of the early members of MCC, Brother Sabir. And so I want to give you the floor to kind of open up and give us a framing of the early history. Talk a little bit about your role, but as you mentioned, you want to tell
Before I go into Muslim Community Center's founding, I want to talk about why did it become necessary. Muslim lands had been occupied by Europeans for a long time, and they were under foreign colonial rule. In 1940s, many countries started becoming free. They call independent. But they found that their industry had been totally eliminated. Their economies had been ruined. Their education system had been destroyed. They started doing all these things again. The educational systems in our countries was not very good, although we were building it, building new institutions and trying to improve it, but it was not very good. So if you wanted higher education, you had to go overseas. A trend started in the 50s, at least in my country, Pakistan, and I'm sure in other countries also, that people, the best and the brightest of the country started going overseas for education. And there were many destinations, and pretty soon this country became the #1 destination. The idea was that we will get the education and go back and serve our countries. It did not happen exactly that way. Some did go back and some did not. Those who did not go back discovered something very, very important. They found that back home, although people have become independent, the colonial system persisted. The foreign colonial masters had been replaced by the local masters, who were not any better. In some cases, they were even worse. There was no freedom. There was no dignity. And then they found that in this country there was freedom and there was dignity. People respected you. The government respected you. Employers respected you. Employers not only respected you, they wanted you. They were offering jobs to our people and asking them, don't go back, we'll give you a job. And they found that this is better. So many stayed here. They formed their families, they made a good life for themselves. But when the children were growing up, they realized we have no Muslim institutions here. We have to build some. In the 60s and up to early 70s, the only Muslim institution in this whole region was the Islamic Center on Massachusetts Avenue. People from Baltimore to Richmond used to come there for the Eid and for many Jumas. So people in this area and in Baltimore both started thinking about doing something. In Baltimore, they started gathering in the Johns Hopkins University campus. Here, they made arrangement with Tilden School on Old Georgetown Road and started gathering there and started a Sunday school over there. Then one day in 1976, in an iftar party at the home of Sajjad Durrani and Yasmin Durrani, their friends were gathered together. After the iftar, they sat down and they said, we need to do something. That discussion became serious. Out of that discussion came sort of a movement. The first thing they did, they incorporated the Muslim Community Center in November, that fast. In November, September to November.
76.
76. In 1976, this is all happening in 1976. They started writing the bylaws. They started collecting money to buy land. They started searching for land. And then they applied for 501c3. Is it 501c3, right? I usually get it confused.
That's right.
501c3, and it was approved in early 1971. 1977. 76, 77. Then they bought this 10-acre parcel in 1977 and started planning a building. For next 3 years, we used to meet here in the open field. Sometime we put up a tent, sometime without tent if the weather permits. A lot of gatherings happened here in the open field. Then in 1980, we built the first building. Up to that wall, where it says Masalla, the other side of that wall, that does not have basement. That was built in 1980, and the right side of that building, from the corridor to the right, the whole thing became our masjid and meeting hall. That's where we used to have meeting, that's where we used to pray. Then in 1984, this building was built. I was not involved in that building, I was involved in this building. This building was built in 1984 with a basement, first floor, and second floor. First floor became this main hall. This became our masjid and our meeting hall. And that became our offices. And second floor became our Sunday school. There are a lot of classrooms there. Then in 91, 92, Zafar Saab, 91, 92, we built the masjid.
Yes.
And
So this was the masjid till 1990, early 90s.
until then, this was the masjid. Then now it's it's still an overflow masjid. On each day, this becomes a masjid. Because on each day, we have about 8,000 people who come here. Then in 1998, we built the parking lot. In 2012, we connected the two buildings, masjid and this building. There was a lot of open area between the two. We connected the two, built another building, and added the ladies' bathroom, ladies' masjid. And on second floor, more offices. The people who were involved, I should talk about them too. There were two people who were the main force behind the whole thing, and I will name the others also. Sajjad Durrani was the heart and soul of this organization. He was involved in every construction project. He was the chairman of the construction committee when that building was built, when this building was built, and I was member of the committee when this building built, but he was the chairman. He was chairman when the masjid was built, right? And The other person who was equally dynamic was Nader Dajani. Nader Dajani was older than Sajjad Durrani. And the other people involved were Dr. Hashim, who did all the educational stuff for this organization. He wrote a lot of books for the classroom teaching, and he did a lot of things in the education area. And then we had the Dr. Shamsul Islam Khan, a grand leader, and Arshad Qureshi, who was the sort of the doer. The others were thinking, he did everything. And we had Imtiaz Hussain, we had Mahallati, and Imam Rauf. You have heard the name of Faisal Rauf?
Yes.
His father. He was involved too.
Well, it sounds like a very rich history. And you sort of mentioned your role, that you were something early on where you were part of things, and then you sort of stepped up to be the board chair later, or were you apart from the very beginning?
Well, let me talk a little bit about that. When they wrote the bylaws, the original structure was different, but by 1980 they have rewritten the structure and became two boards. Board of Directors consisting of 9 members for day-to-day operation of the organization. Board of Trustees for policy and finances, 5-member Board of Trustees. And that has been the structure since early 80s up to now. I became member of the Board of Directors in 1987, and then again in 1998. We have here a former chairman of the board of, the former president of the board of directors, Zafar Mirza, and former chairman of board of directors, Zafar Mirza. And former chairman of the board of trustees. And all of these people sitting here, the Ashraf Sufi is also a former president. All these people sitting here have played prominent role. Siddiq was involved in rewriting the bylaws in 97, and Jamshed has been running the lecture series here. Everybody has been involved here.
It's phenomenal. I really appreciate the framing that you gave earlier when you talked about, people coming, migrating, trying to get away from some of the ravages of colonial rule. And one very important piece of framing that I think is important to point out as a part of what you've been saying is what kind of helped to facilitate the expansive growth of Islam in America, because before 1965, it's an African-American experience. The Muslims in America are largely, especially in the public sense, African-Americans.
Right.
Those organizations, particularly in the public space, speaking out against Jim Crow, because Jim Crow laws and the sort of racial apartheid system of American history was very much alive until the civil rights movement culminates in the 1960s. And so what I see is interesting in what you just said and how you explained it was how it merges. You kind of give us a global sense of how these movements intertwine, right? Because by the time the 1965 comes, the immigration reform, what they call the Hart-Celler Act of 1965, is approved and signed by the president, LBJ at that time. Because of the civil rights movement, this opens up immigration from Asia and Africa. Before, people like you would have to come into the country, if it was possible, very difficult, come and then you have to leave, right? So, so that really shifted the landscape. As Muslims, sometimes we forget that the growth of our community is connected with the success of the civil rights movement, because that immigration reform, it was a part of the civil rights movement. It took the racism and the racial quota system out of our immigration policy and allow for people like yourself to come and build institutions and create this great vision. And so I just wanted to mention that because you provided some framing in the global sense, and that framing in the domestic sense was this component. And so I wanted to ask you, as a part of that, was there a recognition that, you know, we're able to build these communities because of the success of the civil rights movement, and that this is a different and better place and maybe more suitable for the growth of a Muslim community, even more so than where we've come from?
I came here in 1964, so I saw the civil rights movement at its height. I was here when the civil rights law was passed.
Wow.
I have seen people, my people, mostly from Pakistan and India, that were totally supportive of the civil rights movement. And they also were very close to the Muslim community, the local Muslim community. Although what Elijah Muhammad was teaching was slightly different. And of course his son tried to correct it.
Right.
But we supported it. We used to go to their masjids to pray. That's how we came about. But you're absolutely right. Civil rights movement has been beneficial to a lot of people. But one thing I want to say is Statue of Liberty's call, give me your tired and your poor, does not apply to us. We came here from those countries from which we came were the best and the brightest of those countries. And that's why when we came here, American employers were after us. We'll take care of your immigration status. Stay here. That's what happened.
It's very intentional. If you read the immigration reform,
Right.
to get you and you was very intentional.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
So you all don't qualify as the tired and the poor.
No.
You might have been tired at times, but you were
Now
not
we
tired.
are
You were
tired.
not poor.
Now we are tired. now,
Sick and tired.
now we are sick and tired.
Can you talk a little bit about how the vision of MCC has kind of evolved over the years, and what are some of the ways in which it stayed the same, and what are some of the ways in which it evolved?
Well, one thing that I did not mention is late 90s. One of our doctors, who used to be my doctor at that time also, and many of us went to him, started an effort to start a clinic here at MCC. He worked very hard, and finally we started rebuilding some of the area in the basement to fit his needs. And he started bringing equipment here. The clinic opened in 2003 as a walk-in free clinic and started
For
growing.
everyone?
For everyone, regardless of your religion, your race, your national origin. As long as you are sick and you come here, we'll take care of you. But it was initially just Saturday and Sunday. Then it became 3 days, then it became 4 days, then it became 5 days, now it's 7 days. And now it's no longer free as such, but we take care of people even if they cannot pay. So right now the clinic is handling between 15 and 17,000 patient encounters in a year.
Oh, that's amazing.
And Dr. Sufi is one of the volunteer doctors there.
So, which brings me back to the question. I'm glad you highlighted the clinic, because obviously we were definitely going to talk about that. We'll talk about it more, inshallah. But something happened to the mission and vision of the community. There was an evolution there, if it's the decision to incorporate in 76, actually found by, I think, and built by 1981. And then a little bit more than a decade later, it's expanded and grown to the point where now we have a free clinic that people in the county can access, and people in the local area can access. So something has happened in the evolution of the vision of what this community is all about. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit.
The vision of the community is written in the bylaws, and we have not always met the spirit of the bylaws, but we are now doing more and more to try to meet those, reaching out to the people outside the community and let them know that we exist and we are here, meeting with the government officials, becoming more active in the political sphere. This actually started about 20 years ago and now is growing, that most of our effort is in the Ramadan. We have Ramadan Iftar for various groups. One is for interfaith people, one is for the elected officials, one is for the teachers and educators. So we are reaching out, and more recent effort we made was to reach out to help the refugees. And that effort, Abdullah can give us more details on that because he was deeply involved in it. That effort really became very successful, and it was recognized by a lot of people. Right, Abdullah? Absolutely. So, these are the things that we are doing, and we need to do more. We're working on it.
So when I came upon MCC, I moved here from Chicago in 2010, 2011, and I was working for a Muslim organization, and I came upon MCC. And in my capacity, I had traveled all around the Muslim community in the United States. And so there's something that I noticed was that Muslim physicians had started setting up free clinics, and they started growing into more structured institutions. Right? And I visited, and I was a part of one, founding one in Chicago. I visited one, the Ummah Clinic in LA, and I visited clinics in Houston, Milwaukee, all over the country. But something very unique that I won't forget when I visited here for the first time, must have been maybe 2014 or 2015, and I found that this is something that had been integrated with the county system,
Right.
which I thought was incredible. Because all these places that I have been around the country, we're thinking about how we're going to fund it. Are we going to ask doctors to just volunteer into perpetuity? But you all here had integrated with the county system and was actually getting county funding and support as a part of the business model. And I thought that's just something I wanted to mention that I thought was really incredible when I discovered that.
That actually was what changed the character of our clinic from free walk-in clinic to a more organized clinic. Because when the county found out that we have a clinic, they actually came in and started talking to us. What can we do to help you? And that the whole thing started from there. And then they told us about something called Primary Care Coalition that does funding like this. And the secret is, I don't know anybody is hearing, but the secret is the clinic saves county money. The money they are giving the clinic is very small amount compared to what they would have to spend if the clinic wasn't here.
Right.
So it's actually a win-win situation.
So obviously to have the clinic grow into this very, solid institution at this point, that was a milestone.
Right,
So you said 92?
98.
Oh, this was later. It was in 98 that this happened. Okay.
98 is when we started planning.
Okay.
The clinic opened in 2003.
Got it. All right. Now that's a milestone, I would argue, in the life of this community, and a big one, and a real feather in the cap of this community. Can we back up and look at some of the other milestones, if you could identify a few?
We started, it was written in our application to the IRS that sooner or later we are going to start a full-time school. And we started one, it didn't work out. Then we started one again, it didn't work out. We are trying again now. I hope this time it works out, right, Abdullah?
Is it K through, was it K through, the effort was to be K through 12, or?
Well, that's the debate, and
Right.
I might be the only dissenting voice in here. I'm against K2. Not K2, but something else too.
Right.
I'm not in favor of kindergarten, elementary school, but I think Abdullah is. So
It's
there's
under-
a
it's under
debate.
discussion.
Yeah, it's a subject, it's up for discussion. I want a Muslim school responding to a need. Kindergarten and elementary school, we do not have a need for that. But anyway, let me not make my argument here, but we are working on it.
So the initial effort for a school, an official accredited school effort, that was one of the, to at least start that effort.
It has been started this year.
Okay, it restarted this year.
Restarted third time.
Okay,
Third time.
okay.
The first two did not work out. I hope this works out. I hope it does not meet the same fate as before. By the way, any one of you want to say something, please don't hesitate. Add something. If I'm missing something, add it. Go ahead.
Can we pause right for a second? Sure. So he's adding.
Okay.
He's gonna, so, because when someone's gonna add, it enables a mic to be
Okay.
brought to.
Okay.
There seems to be some echo.
That's the feedback.
Yeah.
And
Probably.
that's so that you guys can hear. So it's coming from the mic. Can we switch this up?
Okay.
You have the piece.
He tucked it in. It's like, there you go.
He told me to put it in my pocket.
That's fine. That's good. That's good. Don't worry. I got you.
Put it in my
Put it back in
pocket.
your pocket. And then you can bring it under your shirt and then back into the area where the last one was. You can take the other one off. So you want to put it probably under the shirt so it doesn't show.
Drop it.
Yeah.
Can you take it off? I
Yes, sir.
cannot see.
No problem.
There we
Okay.
go, there we go.
Grab it. There you go. And then this one, if you can pull it like under,
Or just drop it, there you go. There you go.
better for the vision. Here we go. Mike, can you check it? Make sure it's good. So the mic has to be a little bit louder than normal because it's far, but it's also so that we can get a good feed for our production after the video, which is why it's a little bit loud, a little bit of feedback. You good? Can you speak?
Oh, yes, I can speak.
Good? Okay. All right.
I learned that when I was a little boy.
Rahman bhai,
time for
bit about
questions.
the vision of the.
Do we need a mic for comments and questions?
No, just, it can be in the past.
Okay, give me an idea.
I mean, what values we are espousing, what is our outlook within the community and for, with respect to the other communities. And also, we are being, we should be thankful to be here as well.
Okay, that's the first thing. I want to thank Islamic Heritage Museum for doing this. This is excellent. As a matter of fact, your museum has been here so many times, right? You've been here a few years back, and you were here a couple of months back, and that was excellent presentation. You set up the whole museum here. We had, it was wonderful. And then what he spoke was so beautiful. So what you're doing is excellent. And your coming here is even great. And one thing that Parvez told me and Anwar told me that we should give you some pictures and things like that. We will make a collection and share it with you. And then you can add it to your collection.
Wonderful.
Only day before yesterday, I wanted to come to the Islamic Heritage Museum. Nobody answered the phone. I called you also. You didn't answer the phone either. So
He's a hard man to get, so that's not a surprise.
Right now, you go to the website because it's being rebuilt.
okay. Yeah, I went to the website and I picked up the phone. I called. Nobody answered. But
We'll complain.
still, I think we are going to make a group and work with you and come visit your museum.
Inshallah.
Our vision is actually, Dr. Hashim told me that when they met in that iftar party, they were talking about creating a space where our young people can come together. They did not have the prayer place as the first priority. Prayer place can be part of anything. It doesn't have to be masjid as such. But they wanted a place where the young people get together. That's the first thing that we don't have our young people's opportunity to get together somewhere. And then when young people grow up, they're going to circulate in the larger community. They will present their faith as an example to everybody else and show them what Muslims are. That's the whole vision, that we want to live in this country as members of this country, as citizens of this country, but we want to be accepted as equal, respect them, and they respect us.
Which brings me to a thought. When I come to this community, it makes me think about, I'm a convert. I converted about 31 years ago, 31, 32 years ago. And in my community, we didn't have a masjid yet.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people who influenced me was a dear brother he's in his 90s now. He's a doctor. He was an eye surgeon in Southern Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And he came upon our community of African Americans. He like you. He came from what is now Pakistan. And he told our imam, "You've been working in this community for 30 years as an imam, and we're going to build a masjid from the ground up, and we want you to be the resident imam." So that was kind of how our community integrated. The Saudis had built a small center by the university, and and some Desi brothers, doctors, brought it all together. They said, we want to do something that's more permanent in the community, not just something that's for the students. So that is how in my community it kind of merge together. I see a merging together happening here
Yes,
that's happened at MCC.
yes,
Because when I first came here, I said, oh, okay, it's a very nice community, it's a nice masjid, it's a South Asian community. But when I come here in 2025, and I see everybody.
it's very different.
I see everybody. I see the
Now-
whole Muslim community,
Yeah,
right?
now it's very different.
An integration, has happened. And again, as I mentioned, as a person who's worked in the Muslim community, I've traveled all over the United States, different sections.
Right,
I was, being from Chicago, you see different sections. But what is happening now, I see is an integration is happening. And it's happening in different places. I really visually see it at MCC. And I just wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about that a little bit.
well, all the people sitting here are my generation. So what I'm going to say, they might push back. But those of us who came originally as immigrants, we are not that good at interacting with other people. We like to stay within our own self. The second generation is more outgoing. Is the second generation who's creating that situation. And also, I was surprised, the word desi.
Oh, well, it's because the brother whose name I was trying to think of was Dr. Makbul Ahmed, and he was an important mentor for me when I first took Shahada. And just because of people like him that I do know that word. But you mentioned it's usually second and third generation that creates this integration.
Right.
But in my case, he was like you. He's a few years older than you, as a matter of fact.
Not everybody is
Yeah.
same. Some are more
Sure.
outgoing than others. But generally, the first generation
That's
try
normal.
to stay within
Sure.
there.
That's
It's
normal.
more comfortable.
It's normal.
Yeah, I like to go to the Jamshed's house rather than somebody else's house.
Yeah. I mean, you've already undertaken
Right.
to make hijra, which is a psychological dimension. That's one of the things that we don't, as an African American, I recognize. To make hijra, there's a psychological dimension to it, and a weight, and a difficulty that we don't appreciate. And so, I recognize the point that you're making, but I also understand that there's a difficulty that's in that process, and you're laying a new trajectory yourself.
Right.
And and it's okay.
Well, there is another thing that is a little bit difficult. In 1986, MCC invited Dr. Muzammal Siddiqui to come here and in this room to talk about the role of Muslims in a non-Muslim country. And he told us, not me, they told us that there is no such thing because Muslims never lived in non-Muslim countries. They never went to non-Muslim countries except for diplomacy, for trade, or espionage. They never went to non-Muslim country for it. But now Muslims are living in non-Muslim countries, so the role has to be defined. And he said, let me try to define it. He did a very good job, but that role has not really been defined. We are still uncomfortable. Our second generation is not that uncomfortable. Our second generation is becoming more at ease with this situation. The first generation is still, we keep dreaming about back home. We want to go back. I remember those canals, I remember those trees, those farms, so keep dreaming about them. But the second generation is not doing that. Second generation is making progress.
Well, I think one of the things that we as Muslims are learning is that wherever we find ourselves, we have to exemplify our values. Otherwise, if we don't model them, our children will follow the example of whatever's around us. Right. And so in that vein, I would like to mention the weekend school. Mm-hmm. And because I've seen weekend schools start and stop in a lot of places, including this region. But one of the things that I've heard consistently about MCC is the weekend school, or I don't know what it's called, but I understand it's very well organized.
We don't have a name for it.
Don't have a name for it?
Sunday
Sunday school.
Yeah, Sunday school.
And I'm told that it's very well organized, and people from around the area try to engage with it and to get their kids connected. And when did that start? And do you have a little bit of background on
Sunday
that?
school was the very first thing we started when we built that building, 1980. And it has been growing ever since. It used to be all volunteer. Then about 15 to 20 years ago, we started paying the teachers. And now the teachers are actually hired, not waiting for somebody to come say, okay, I'm willing to teach. That's what it used to be. People will volunteer to teach, and we say, okay, you teach this and you teach that. Right now, it's a little more organized. The teachers are paid, even the principal is paid. And one thing that I'm not sure if we are still doing, we should be teaching children Arabic, not simply helping them memorize surahs of which they do not know the meanings. But I have to double check, Abdullah. I have to double check if they're teaching the meanings of what they're making them memorize, or are they only memorizing? Because I was told to memorize. I never knew what they meant. So this went on for a very long time. But,
So started in 1980,
uh-huh.
and I think a critical milestone is started paying teachers.
About 15 years ago.
Oh, okay. And so in institutional development, that's normal. Where
Right.
you see, there's a volunteer clinic, but as it grows and develops, it becomes more institutionalized. Business processes get funding and et cetera. And something similar happened with the weekend school.
Yeah, the school has a budget. Of course, it's managed by the board of directors, of which Abdullah is a vice president, but they have a budget.
Are there any philanthropic efforts that are run through this masjid, or is MCC connected?
We have a pantry. We have a pantry that, Abdullah, about 200 families are being served. 400 families are being served. We distribute food just about every week, right? Sometime every week, sometime every other week. Twice a month. Twice a month. The pantry is right over there. If you can see through that window, in that building. Part of that building is the pantry, and we store all the food there. And then twice a month, people come line up here and food is distributed.
Wonderful. I just want to ask a couple more questions, and we can start taking questions and comments in the audience.
Actually, I was hoping you people will interject and say something.
We have
Let me just make few comments.
Sure.
For example, when you say integration with what you're seeing in 2025, actually, you see more right now, but integration of the society in this MCC has been for a long time. We have no history that from time to time we have people in the board of directors. They have been at MCC, not only from South Indian, but from other races, including African American, for a long time. So that's I would like to emphasize here. And second thing, actually, African Americans, of course, they have been front line. I mean, so we have been benefited from that community always. So even today, we are actually still benefiting from their contribution. And obviously, African Americans have been in this country from the day they came here. I mean, the country was established. So we know, we have read the history of this country about the roots and all of this thing. And I think our community really started participating more actively really after 2011. I mean, this very tragic event. And I remember that I was public relations chairperson of this MCC here at that time. Was called now U.S. Senator Chris when he became the U.S. Congressman. So I invited him, and then he was very reluctant to come. Actually, he was not interested to come. I persuaded him, so I said, then he asked me several questions, okay, what I want to talk to you about. He gave me some idea, what I'm not interested. Anyway, so just we persuaded him, he came and he gave, I said, what was good in the interest of the country, you should talk about those things. And then I think at that time also the governor was Republican Party. We reached out their public relations. They used to come here regularly here. So kind of, we improved very good relationship with these, these elected officials, congressmen and governors, all of those things. This paved the actually, our community was very afraid at that time, honestly. So because after that event, then we see a lot of organized work in our county, a lot of participation throughout the country. So that's just I want to, still again, African American contribution can never be denied here. We are very big beneficiary of that. Thank you.
Well, in line with that, I can say a few things about our interaction with the government. On 9/11, we were scared because of what was happening. But we got so much support from the neighborhood. All the churches and synagogue in the area reached out to us to express their support for us. Many of the clergy came to visit us. And then Doug Duncan was county executive at that time. He held a news conference right here on the other side of the masjid. And he very openly said that we are with the Muslim community all over Montgomery County, and we will do whatever it takes. But something very strange happened. At that time, I was the president of Muslim Community Center. We had some incidences within our community. Somebody had an incident at the pharmacy, somebody had an incident in the school, somebody had an incident in a bus. And I reached out to them and asked them to report it. They refused to do it. The county kept asking us, if you have incident, please tell us so we can go investigate. But our community didn't want anybody to even involve in their affairs. This is our affair, we'll take care of ourselves. That's how our community felt, but we had support from all over the place.
Well, that speaks to, I think, the founding and the community integration from the beginning.
Right.
Because that's interesting, because I think after 9/11, a lot of parts of the Muslim community that were siloed and remained isolated became one, kind of took on that kind of thinking once 9/11 happened, and we felt the need, look, country doesn't really understand who we are. They're suspicious of us. They're looking down on us. They're probably investigating us secretly, But it sounds like this community had the kind of vision from the beginning to have a posture of community, forward-looking community engagement, so that really, did you have to change much of what you were doing and how you were approaching community, after 9/11, or just do more of what you were already doing?
The latent fear was always there, but we did not change anything. As a matter of fact, one of our volunteer imams, Sheikh Hassan, he used to stand up at a member and say, by the way, those of you who came to spy on us, we know you're here. Listen to me. That's what he used to say. Listen to me.
Sure, they was listening. They're listening.
Yeah. But actually in Montgomery County, we had support from police. We have support from the county administration. And I think you were thinking of Van Hollen.
Yeah, he was
Yeah. Van Hollen was at that time senator in the Maryland General Assembly. Yeah, on 9/11, he came here as a senator of Maryland. Later on, he became congressman. At that time, he was senator in Maryland.
congressman in 2000.
2000? In 2001, he was here.
I know, I remember very well. because I
Okay,
saw the invitation,
okay,
so,
okay.
yeah.
What?
He was born in
Yes.
Karachi.
He's an elected official from this community?
Yeah, they're from, right now he's a senator, so he's senator from Maryland.
Right.
But when he was elected to Maryland Assembly and then to Congress, he was elected from not this community. I think we are not part of his district.
No.
His district is District 8. District 8.
Okay.
What are we, District 3? Okay. We are with Sarbanes.
Okay. Have there been any other elected officials that came from MCC?
All
Everybody has been
Senator
here.
Barbara McKeskey came here, governor came here.
Okay.
County executive came here all the time, county council came, so they had been here, senators, congressmen, all the time here.
I'm sure.
Including governors.
Jamie Roskin was here
Okay.
many years.
Have we had any of our community members elected to any local positions from MCC? Muslims?
Yes, Saqib Ali,
Yeah.
who lives in Germantown, he was elected as a delegate to Maryland General Assembly. He's the only one.
That's a start.
Uh-huh.
It's starting. It's starting for Muslims all over the country. I was just, we're seeing him in California, Missouri.
Well,
It's
Siddiq tried. He ran for the county council, the Montgomery County Council.
no.
Let's try again.
So,
Younger people.
as a reminder, we have 4 Muslim congressmen right now. 4. So again, it starts small, starts with at the local levels and with 1 or 2, but
Yeah, we
it's
have-
something that's growing. And so what I wanted to ask, lastly, before we open it up to the floor, was that it's 2025. You have how many generations? Just you can think about your own family. You're probably at the 4th generation.
Third and fourth.
Third and
yes.
fourth generation
Yeah,
now.
Yes.
Maybe, when you migrated, you plan to get your degree or do this and go back.
Right.
But now, Allah has decided another plan, and now you have 3 and 4 generations of American Muslims in the United States. What would you like to see as a part of the vision of this community going forward, and to see those generations going forward do?
We like to see the community more active in the society, in the political atmosphere, and more visible and more contributing. We like to see about 4 or 5 of our community in the Maryland General Assembly, at least 1 in Congress. Zafar?
I just want to make a point that not today, but almost.
Hold on, he's bringing you the mic.
I can talk with you. All right.
Now, you don't have to.
All right, now I don't have to. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Perfect.
All right. Yeah. So almost 10, 15 years ago, we had decided that we are going to pass over the baton to the younger generation in MCC. And that was the time quite a few things happened, not only younger generation, but also to the females, Muslim females also. I mean, we had our president now, Usman Server. He's the American-born Muslim. So he's the president now. We were number 1 in many other things. For example, 25 years ago, we had the president of MCC, a female, Yasmin Majid, which at that time was unheard, the Muslim centers having the females as the president and all that. And then we had the chairman of the board of trustee, Lubna Ijaz, who is a converted Muslim. She was the chairman of the board of trustees. So we were passing on to that direction. Now Abdullah is here, Usman sir was here, and there are other younger generations who are getting into the leadership position. Another thing I want to clarify over here, if you see, it says over here, redefining community service. Our name is not the mosque, though mosque is one of the major part of our center. But we are Muslim community center. Community means to commune, to live in unity. And that's what we are doing all this time. And providing the services. And that's what we did right from the very beginning. And obviously our clinic is one of the example for that, providing the community service, having the food pantry and all that. Huh? Yeah. You had asked if the patient who come to MCC and if they cannot pay, no.
The battery is dead. The battery is dead, that's all.
Battery is dead? All right. So they come.
It's alive again.
Huh?
Came back to life.
Battery is alive, okay. So, as I said, we believe in the community service, and that's what we are doing it over a period of time, and inshallah, we'll keep on moving in the same direction. You were also asking about what our vision is. Our vision is to develop the friendship in the communities, the Muslim communities and the Christian and the Jews, and that's the reason we have interfaith community over here. The chairman is right here sitting, and that's what we do, invite the people from the different places. At one time, I still remember when I was president, the Montgomery County came to us and they said, we want to expand the road over here, the New Hampshire Avenue, and we want your land. And I said, okay, how much you're gonna pay? And they said, we are gonna pay you $29 for that. And I said, that's not enough. And myself and the gentleman's name, Sabir Rahman has given you, Sajjad Durrani, who was the initial person we found. We went to the office in Olney, and we talked to them about it. And after about 15 to 20 minutes, they said, okay, instead of 29, we are going to give 36,000. And we said, fine. In half an hour, 7,000 is not there. So we are constantly in touch with the county and the elected people. And the whole idea is that at this point in time, if you are really going to the other centers in various areas, you probably will find that we are the most diversified in terms of our membership. We represent all 57 Muslim countries in this center. And the people who come from the different centers, and at one time, somebody came to me and he said that we don't feel comfortable in the other places, but we feel comfortable over here. And that's what we are trying to provide to everyone. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there's something about MCC that little bit strange. MCC does not know its own value, but others do. I'll give you one example. I think it was 2002, after 9/11, some people were trying to improve on the hate crime bill of Maryland. Susan Lee was one of the sponsors. She called me, I was president at that time, she called me and said, I want you to write a letter supporting this amendment to the bill. We have a lawyer who actually wrote our bylaws, have been active in our community since the very beginning. I talked to him, and he helped me write the letter. Susan Lee called me back and said, make sure you write President Muslim Community Center on it. To her, that was important. To me, it was not. So this is how we were viewed outside. I sent the letter, and few days later,
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
a few days later, I received a telephone call from somebody who said, I'm the secretary to the Judicial Committee chairman. The chairman wants your permission to make a change in your proposal. That's the value of MCC. And the permission he wanted was, there was a clause in the original bill that said no discrimination against Christians or Jews or any bona fide religion. We had written in there, Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, or Sikhs. And the change he wanted was, can I remove the names of all the religions? I called my lawyer friend, he said, tell him yes! That's lot more powerful. So the law does not have any religion written in it because we made that happen, and it was in the name of MCC.
We had a question or a comment over here, and then we had some tech issues. I think we resolved it, and we're ready for the question or comment.
By the way, MCC is still in technologically learning process, so our mic keeps starting working, then stop working, then start working. Go ahead.
No, I thought we had a question over here because we were.
Does anybody have a question or comment? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I actually had one quick, it's not a question, it's more of a comment. So you asked earlier about the diversity piece, and you asked about the youth and all that. And I think, so I've been around the DMV, and I actually grew up in Virginia. I attended a lot of the masjids there. I went to Adams. Growing up, actually, I was a big part of the Dal Hijra community. And then I moved to Alexandria, and then there was the Ikna Masjid there, and we were part of the expansion there. And then we moved here to Maryland, my family and I, in 2009. And subhanAllah, there's something about MCC, once you kind of like step on its grounds, that is very accommodating. You feel the community aspect. And so I'm originally Sudanese, East African Sudanese. My wife I met here at MCC. She's half Bengali, half Afghani, right? So now our kids are Muslim, right? so I mean, and subhanAllah, like, Brother Sabir mentioned, it's the community is a very, the second and the third and the fourth generations now, you find a lot of diversity. And if you come pray with us, Taraweeh or Maghrib or Isha, you see that diversity. And that diversity is also now reflected on the boards, right? Like the board of directors, we have two sisters that are on the board of directors. We have Southeast Asians. we have different ethnicities, right, represented on the board, which represents the community.
Our IT chairman sitting right over there.
It died, it might come back to life. You never know.
But yeah, I just wanted to share that because, you guys touched on that earlier in Somalia. You see kind of, in corporate America, the same tone at the top. Like the tone of the community kind of actually rises up, and the board kind of reflects the community. And so you see that, subhanAllah, like all the programming is very diverse, all the, the salah you come pray diverse, the people that we serve, it's very diverse. So it's a very diverse and welcoming community.
I have a feeling Kyle has run out of questions.
No, I actually have about a dozen questions that I haven't gotten to, but we have to respect time, and we've been called to Salah here in a second.
Okay.
So
Two more quick questions.
Okay. All right. Have we have any more questions from the audience?
No.
What do you, so I want to give you an opportunity for like a final closing comment. Like what is it that you want? And, you know, we're going to document this as a part of America's Islamic Heritage Museum's collections. When you can envision 10 or 20 years from now, you know, someone visiting our museum or even visiting this community, what is it that you want them to know about what you all have done, what you've contributed, and, you know, what kind of legacy you've wanted to leave?
I never thought of that. But one thing that we keep talking about Muslims coming to America over the last 50 years. Muslims have been in America even before Columbus came here, because Abu Bakr of Mali had first sent a fleet that did not reach anywhere and came back destroyed. Then he put a stronger fleet and left himself and never came back. And when the Columbus' son, Frederick Columbus, has written a lot of books. And one in his books he has written that when Columbus and his people came here, they saw a lot of Muslims doing trading in many areas, including Canada. So the Muslims have been here forever, even before Columbus. So we are not the pioneers. Then Muslim came in 1800s from the Ottoman lands, and they did not come here to settle down. They came here, they heard there's a lot of money to be made over there. They came here to make money, and they found out things were not as good as they thought. And they actually got stuck here, and they are still here. So then we came here to go to schools and go back, and never went back. And then there were a lot of the Africans brought here as slaves. 35% of them were Muslims. So the Muslims have been here. The vision is that the Muslims become visible in this country, become an integral part of this country, and become productive part of this country, so that they have respect. Right now, Muslims don't have respect. And we have to, we cannot go out and tell them, give us respect. We cannot beg for respect. We have to earn it. And that's what we have to do.
All right. Well, I thank you, Brother Sabir, for taking some time. You know, we could probably cover many more questions and go into a lot more detail and depth, but I really do appreciate what you've shared and the people who have come in the audience, what you have also contributed. So again, thank you. These kind of moments are important. I know we don't do this enough, and when we have people who return to Allah, we say, oh, we should have interviewed, we should have talked to this brother or that brother or that brother. We have to collect these conversations, and it have to become a part of our institutional knowledge in communities, because it really helps us to guide us moving forward.
Right.
And so I thank you all for coming out. And
now I have a question for you.
Oh, you got a question for me?
How can we access the video that you're making?
Brother Khalil.
I'll talk to that just really briefly.
Okay.
So essentially, inshallah, we are developing, we will let you know, and your leadership know. I talk to Abdullah all the time. So we'll let you know, but also to know that this is not, I want this to be one of many. This is a part of oral history, and we know that different perspectives, like the perspective you gave, and we want those varying perspectives. This is a living thing. It should be like, it's more like a living documentary, not something that stops at this particular thing. This is the first step, so we really appreciate your Brother Sabir for being the first one. But we want to continue to have these conversations everywhere, and we want your perspectives. So we'll be back, inshallah, we'll set time, and it's something that we want to do. We want to preserve our history. We have a rich tradition of Muslims preserving our history. We want to do that same thing. So we'll let you know when it's out and when it's produced, and maybe we'll do a screening of it or something like that, inshallah. So So, Jazakallah khair, inshallah, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you again, brother. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Assalamu alaikum.